Companies like Airbnb didn't just provide an alternative to hotel rooms, it kind of
Hmm.
plowed over the entire real estate industry, if you think about it. Today, the real estate industry is experiencing all kinds of disruption. Disruption from prop tech, AI, legal, media outlets, even taxation and governance. Hi, my name is Frank D'Angelo, and I'm the real estate broker in Minnesota, and I'm here as your host for the Real Estate Disruption Podcast. And today I have a very special guest, Coach Mike Secord, who's a certified leadership and mindset coach, and he specializes in helping real estate agents live a life with a little less anxiety and stress, when it comes to worrying about where the next transaction is coming from. Welcome to the podcast, Mike. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks a lot for having me, Frank.
Wonderful, wonderful. Hey, for the listeners, I'm going to ask that you just kind of tell us what you're doing, what's your day to day, what are you aiming to do with your goals, what's your end game with respect to your coaching business, and tell us your journey.
Sounds great. Yeah, my name is Mike Secord. I've been in the real estate industry for about 27 years. I like to say that I've worn every hat there can be worn in the real estate business. I've started off as an agent like everyone. Started off as a dual career agent that I call it, like everybody usually does. We're all transitioning from something. What I've found is real estate seems to be like the land of misfit toys. We're all starting somewhere. We all know what we intended to be, but we weren't happy or we weren't made for that environment. So we get into real estate and we start finding our own lane. And that's where I was. Started off selling real estate, struggled my first year like most agents do. I quickly had a realization that year because I heard it back in 1997 and it's still being uttered this to this day. And that is that, 87% of realtors fail in this business. And what I found out with my first year in the business, even I did pretty well. For that time frame, I sold about, just under 3 million in volume. I was really, really happy. And I was getting married that year. And I got married October 9th. So it was right about the first week of September. I was walking through my office and I overheard two agents talking. And one agent said, I just paid my taxes. And I'm like, I just kind of caught that and it stopped me. And I just said, what did you say? What did I hear correctly? And she said, I just paid my quarterly taxes. It's September. We do that. This is my third quarter taxes. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like so out of it. She kind of gave me a little bit of brief discussion about it. I went into my broker and asked him, and he just like unloaded this thing on me that I had no idea existed. I was up to that point. I worked, I got a paycheck, and then I filed my taxes and did things. I never looked at my checks. I'm a 26-year-old naive person just working hard and never looked at anything. And come to find out, yeah, I have to pay taxes. So I got my dad on the phone. We figured things out and I sent in my taxes and got married the next month. And when I really looked down at that, when I had to go in and get all the information, I looked down and I was like, I only I sold this and only made that. I sold like almost 3 million in volume and with broker splits and things and having to pay taxes, I had $18,000 to my name. I'm like, I can't get married. I can't start a family. I can't do that. So my breakdown led to my breakthrough. I realized that agents don't fail. They don't know what to do. And I realized at that point, once I figured it out and figured out that, hey, the only thing separating me from everyone else in my office that were making a lot of money and doing really well was number one, awareness of how to actually run it like a business. And then the second thing was is they were talking to more people than I was talking to. And I'm like, I can fix that. They're not better than me. If they're making a buck, why can't I make two? That was been my drive from that particular point is build systems, do it, embrace the suck, do the hard work so that I could enjoy life later. So I was all on to do the grind for 3 to 5 years so that I could enjoy my business from there. As I leveled myself up, I realized, hey, this business lacks leadership. And I was just on a drive and force from that point to develop my leadership, make impacts on people, and continue to improve the business because I knew there had to be a better way. And that's what I've been all about beyond that. So, I live by a simple mission, and that is to impact people's lives one mindset at a time. And I do that in every day of my life, whether I'm going to dinner or I'm meeting people. I like to ask people questions that kind of move them out of neutral. I like to just impact people. I like to get to know what's going on and find my way of why did this person cross my path? And that's the way I've been running my coaching business. So just impacting people, pushing them out of neutral, not really coaching to a system like, here's our plan, do this 1 through 10, and you'll get there. It's more about finding out their why, finding out what's driving them, what's the why behind the why, what are they looking to build, what type of life can it be? And it's my mission is impact people's lives one mindset at a time. And like you said earlier, is help them live a life with less anxiety and stress so that they can build a business that funds their perfect life. So my
Perfect.
goal is to just create an industry that people are happy. People aren't, you said disruptive, and we're going to talk about that today, but I believe the disruptive part is our mindset.
Well, you've obviously focused on some particular candidates, with that are, real estate agents, and you also have some real estate brokers, and you've got
Hmm.
done some remarkable things with them. You've gotten some results. Tell us a little bit about that journey when you have your coaching clients, whether it's a broker or an agent. Talk to us a little bit. What do you do initially, and then how do you keep them going into that productive mindset?
That's great. Yeah, the first thing I do is I like to ask people this question. And I do this whether I'm meeting you at an event and walking in a hallway and we're talking is I like to know what's keeping you awake at night. What's
Uh,
stressing you out? What is if you had a magic wand you could fix and it'd make it go away, what would it be? And then I want to know what's your vision? Why did you get into business to be a realtor? Why did you get in business to be a broker? What is your vision? What are you looking to do? What problem are you looking to solve that you have found in this? So I'm finding that out from people. And when they can answer something back that actually excites me, now I want to go deeper because I don't want just a coaching client to have a client. I want a coaching client that I am fired up to get on the call with them just as much as they are fired up to get on the call with me. So I'm looking for that particular thing in individuals. And I believe that's why the people I work with seems to have great success is I really get into where they want to be and I get them to actually get into where they want to be. There's too many people that are going through life in neutral. They're not living a life on purpose and they're just going through it. And we're in a big crowd of people and we just keep walking with people. It's like John Maxwell says, is how do you get out of the people pile? And that's constantly what I'm at is like whether you're a broker or an agent, is how do you get out of the agent pile and how do you get out of the broker pile? How do you just don't be a voice that's in a loud room? How do you go be a loud voice in a quiet room so that everyone's listening to you?
Wonderful. Hey, so before I get too deep into some of the
Mhm.
questions we have for you, what's the best way for agents and brokers to connect with you? Like, do you have is it a particular website or something?
Yeah, I mean, I have all the means that you have websites everywhere, but the easiest way to reach me, number one, is you can text me at 586-557-7319. I respond to that whenever I'm not on a call. You can go to coachescornerwithmike.com. You can get to my website. I'm on all socials, Facebook, Instagram there. You can friend request my private page, my personal page, or you can get into my Coach's Corner page, wherever you want. But you can reach me any way you want to. I'm not too particular in running people into a certain thing and getting them into funnels and doing that. Just call me the way we would call and have regular conversations. And I'd love to help you out. And if I'm on something, my assistant will get in touch with you from where what you've reached out. So,
Perfect, perfect. So I see, obviously you do a lot of reading. Anyone who's in this space
mhm.
has to really, embrace everything that's out there, podcasts, reads. Do you have a favorite read or podcast you want to share?
I have so many. We could sit here all day talking about that, but I think the one that I've read over the last few years that had probably the biggest impact on me would be Atomic Habits by James Clear. That book has had the biggest impact. I could go off and say all kinds of amazing books that I've read, and then I've got sitting here on my desk that I'm a part of and diving in, and that one. But that is probably the biggest one that I keep revisiting, and there's little bits of it that I just keep going back and back to. So that's probably the biggest one that I love, and I love it particularly because it aligns with my mission. It
Right.
aligns with everything about me, one mindset at a time where I want to be. And James Clear breaks it down, personal and professional growth, small actionable steps. And that's one of the things I like looking at an agent is going, hey, when we I like looking at our business, whether it's a brokerage or an agent's business, like a GPS. When you plop in where it is you want to go into there, it can't actually connect and actually calculate a route until it knows where you're at. It's got to connect to a cell tower. It's got to connect to a GPS signal and know where you're at in order to get you there. And then when it connects and calculates a route, it gives you an estimated arrival time and it gives you a particular route. Along the way, it's going to tell you there's an accident, there's traffic building up. It's going to reroute you. It's going to do things, but it never changes the destination. It routes you around blind spots, potholes, things that are in the way that are going to delay you so you can get to where you want to go. And that's what I like looking at things is break it down into small actionable steps and realize that, hey, things are going to come along the way. I tell clients all the time when we go through this and we start calculating the small steps out, I'm like, when was the last time you went on a vacation? You drove somewhere and they talk about it. And then I say, did you encounter an accident? Did you encounter that you had to go a different way than you wanted to go, or it took you more time? They're like, yeah. I'm like, did you just pull over on the side of the road, turn your car around and go home? They're like, no, we went. And I said, yeah, you pushed through it. How many times in your business did you encounter an accident, a roundabout, something that actually had to take you out of the way and you just gave up on your trip? Like, why would you do that in your business and not do that in your personal life? I'm like, because you made a decision. You wanted to go on that trip. You made a commitment to your family and the people that packed and did their bags and put them in the car and got all excited about going to Disney. You weren't going to give up on that commitment, but you're not making a commitment to yourself or your business. And that's where
Well,
we get them started, is really going. And so that's what I loved about James Clear's, Atomic Habits, is breaking it down small, actionable steps. I love the part about, he talks about, habit stacking. So how many things can I do at the same time that knock stuff off? If I'm driving, are there phone calls, tech that I could be making to knock off some important phone calls that I need to do? Like for me, one of the habit stack things that I do every day is I go on a 4 mile walk. And in that time frame, I use that as what I call my mindset and my meditation time. And in there, I not only do the walk, I listen to podcasts. I listen to different things that James Clear's on. I listen to Ed Millett. I listen to John Maxwell. Listen to a lot of different podcasts. So consume something. And if I don't have a podcast I'm going to listen to, I'm listening to an audiobook. I'm listening to YouTube videos. I'm habit stacking that going, hey, I'm working my body and I'm working my mind. So always look for different things into there. The other key takeaway in that book that I love is he breaks this down and says, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And one of the things I had a coaching call earlier today and we were talking with a client and about systems and things that need to be in place. And too often we get into this loud, distractive noise of buy this system, get on this thing, you do that. And I'm like, people don't realize that a system is not only technology. A system is this is the pattern of what I do when something comes into my world. And I said, how many people have systems that go from contract to close, but nobody has systems that goes from contact to contract.
exactly. Exactly.
And I'm like, that is the missing piece, whether you're an agent or a broker. It's finding that pond where the fish are in. And what's my system to get them in my boat to sign a contract? One of my greatest systems is just having a piece of paper and writing down what it is I want to do and knocking off and really looking at what I want. Simple, simple, simple system. So I love that part of the book. So I could sit here all day and talk about different key takeaways and stuff, but if you haven't read that book, get it. It is worth every second of
It
what
is.
you're going to do.
It's a great read.
Mhm.
And great takeaways too. I love the GPS analogy and the habit stacking piece. But here's the challenge that I see. In my experience, real estate agents and even companies, they're just experiencing all these disruptions and all kinds of capacities, market disruptions, like you said, technological disruptions. They just start to look at everything has got to be tech-based, tech-based, tech-based. And you talked about it with a piece of paper. And they seem to follow the whatever's shining. It's a shiny
Mhm.
object syndrome. So what do you do with your clients to help them tackle the shiny object or the squirrel syndrome whenever they seem to think that they need to jump into a new shiny technological system?
Yeah, I think we do two things right off the bat that I work with them on. It's all around, like you said earlier, about this so much distraction. It's a noisy world out there. And what I find with agents, brokers, or whatever, it's kind of like they walk into their house and they've got their radio on, their TV on, they've got their earbuds in their ears. They've got every device in their house that is screaming at them on. And they're trying to listen for one particular voice. And it's like, shut some of those things off. I tell agents, and this is the first thing we do, is I want them to track their day for 2 straight weeks. I want to know what it is they're doing. I want them to write down every 15 minutes what it is they're doing from the minute they wake up to the minute they go to bed. And then I want to revisit that. And I want to help them create a time blocked schedule that is around what it is they want, their activities, what are they trying to achieve in all their areas of life, and so we work on it from there, but it's really about going, like I said at the beginning of this call, I feel like I've worn every hat in this industry. And if you're an average agent, not building a team or something like that, you're wearing a lot of hats. If you're an owner of a small brokerage or a big brokerage, you're wearing a lot of hats. Here's what I find with people is we wear a hat that we're a lead generator. We wear a hat that we're an administrator. We wear a hat that we're a IT guy in our business. We wear a hat of, oh, we put a sign in the lawn. We wear a hat of, I'm a photographer and take photos of. We wear all these different hats. But the people that I work with at the beginning of our conversations, they're wearing a bunch of hats and they look silly. What I get them to do is, okay, let's organize those hats in a way you can put them with the right outfit when you have that outfit on. That's a disruption. It's like, I think there's just the biggest disruption I see and I'm a part of is it's just loud. And when I can get people to turn all the devices, all the distractions off and actually just focus on where they want to go, and really why it's loud is they don't know what they want to listen to. They don't know where they want to go. They don't know what they want. They want to be happy, but they don't know what is going to make them happy.
So, from your client's perspective, where are their disruption piles? Is it technological? Is it the legal? Where are they constantly being distracted from these disruptions?
If I had to put one on, it basically comes down to this. It's whatever the fear is driven at the moment.
Right.
And right now we're in this legal strange fear. And you know what? I just think it's really ironic that we are all stressed out about something that we should have been doing since day one. The document really had our butts covered at the very beginning. The problem was we weren't having the conversation.
Yeah.
And now we're forced to have the conversation and it's going on. I look at it like this is we've been driving around for 20 some years with cars that had seatbelts in them. And now all of a sudden there's a seatbelt law that we have to wear the seatbelt that's in our car. And we've got people that are putting the seatbelt on, doing it correctly, taking their life and their safety, and they're doing what needs to be done. And they're the early adapters and they're thriving in the market right now. And we've got a bunch of people out there that once in a while they put it on, but they don't want to wear it too much because it's uncomfortable. So what we're heading into right now is that season where we're going to have all these cops out doing click it or tickets.
Right.
And they're going to be setting up little spots where they're looking just for people that are driving without a seatbelt on. Have any of you on this podcast, you can raise your hand, no one's going to see you. Did you have you gotten a ticket back in the day? If you were around, most people listening to this are like, I don't know what he's talking about. We've always worn seatbelts. Some of us know about when seatbelts weren't in cars. There's probably a lot of people on this phone call that have gotten, or on this podcast that have gotten a ticket for not wearing a seatbelt. Now, when have you thought about putting your seatbelt on? You don't. You just get in the car and you do it. It'd be weird if you didn't. You would actually be like, oh my gosh, I've been driving without my seatbelt. Thank God I didn't get in an accident. You didn't care about your comfort, you cared about your safety. And that's where we're at in this business. It's just we're going to go through a little bit of disruption, a little bit of pain, period of changing something over. But when it's all said and done, we're doing our job. We're still driving our cars. We're still getting from point A to point B, and everyone's safer. So
Right.
just, change your perspective. The way you look at things, change the way you're looking at them, and the things you look at change. Go out and raise your level of service. Go out and do what you're supposed to be doing. And we earn a ridiculous amount of money. That's one of the things I do with my clients is I get them to understand what they did in the world they were in prior to being in real estate, what they did and what they got paid per hour, whether they're salary, we break it down to hour. And then I get them, I go, okay, so you showed up to work on time. You did what they asked you to do. Sometimes you overdid what they asked you to do so you would get a raise. And you put in your time. You never called off sick. You didn't not show up. You did all this stuff for 20, 30, $40 an hour. And they're like, yeah, okay. Break down their real estate sales. And it really comes to most agents I work with, depending on where they're at in their career. If they're brand new, obviously they're at a much lower rate. But anyone that's been in the business a few years or so and has a little bit of volume and they're doing about 1.5 million or higher, they seem to be at somewhere in the range of about $75 an hour to up to about like $300 an hour. And some of my seasoned agents, I have an agent that I'm coaching right now, he makes about $575 an hour, but he's wearing all these hats, So when you start looking at it, you're like, holy cow, I make a ton of money to it, and I can't get a particular document signed.
I'll bet your top producers, the ones you're coaching, they're very, very intentional in terms of what they do, especially if they've had a few sessions with you, they become even
Hmm.
more intentional. I kind of refer to it just having a strategic foresight to move with intentionality. And so,
Hmm.
from your vast experiences, associated with the disruptions and the shiny object syndrome, what's the best advice you could give for someone who's probably struggling and surprisingly struggling? The past year hasn't been the best year for a lot of people, down production down sometimes 30-40% for the vast majority. So what's the one type of advice you could give those people that are struggling or just becoming frustrated with the disruptions happening in the place? So what's going on there?
I think the first thing I like to start with when I get with people that I'm working with and getting into a conversation like you asked about is first, awareness is transformational in itself. I ask them a lot of questions and I get them to be aware of really what's going on. It's not about me, it's about them. And the first thing is I believe unless you can actually say that you're winning the game and you're sitting on a beach with a little fancy umbrella in your cocktail and you have no worries in life, you have some sort of struggle. You have some sort of frustration. You have something going on. And the faster we can actually just be aware of it and identify it and be okay with it and not treat it like it's a label, it's actually growth. Then we get you moving in the right way. So I think that's the first piece to it. The second piece is that you just have to realize that you have to give up to go up. You have to understand that you got to do what's hard so you can have the easy. So everyone's in some sort of struggle right now, and I get it, but get someone in your corner that can help you. I tell my clients all the time, and I do this, is I don't believe anybody can ever, number one, afford a coach. I think if you tell me you can afford a coach, then you don't have the right coach. I think you have to keep pushing yourself. Like if you could afford it, you'd be doing it. So it's always has to be a pinch. The second piece is I don't think anybody, like I don't think any of my clients, I don't think I'm the particular reason that they're having success. I believe we are the particular reason they're having success. And the reason is I believe they were going to have success regardless of me. I can help them get there faster and in less pain because we deal with those frustrations. We deal with those struggles that have you right now in your quiet corner, throwing in the towel, blaming it on something else when really it's just you. And there's things that we can control and there's things that we can't. And if we can take care of what we can control, we're going to win. But we're
Right.
trying to get everything that we can't control to change so we can win. Just focus on those little things. And that's what we do is we just break it down to I'm not a smart guy. I tell people that all the time. They all argue with me, but I'm not a smart guy. And what I try to do is I try to keep it very, very simple. And I know that my habits, my patterns will keep me going if I keep it simple. If I try to complicate it, I'm going to get out of the weeds and I'm going to get to things. I try to keep it as simple as I can and I get things in place so that I can just keep doing it that way over and over again. As you can see in the background when you do see the video, or you won't be able to see it on the actual listening to the podcast, but I keep turtles by me. And the reason I do is when a coach that I was working with, he was all about the tortoise and the hare story and keeping you on the path of just staying consistent. And that's what I'm it's all about. Just doesn't matter about your speed, just stay consistent. And some people call me and when they work, Mike, I need to be more consistent in things. I'm going to tell you right now, as you're listening to this, this is what I tell everyone. I believe everyone on the planet is consistent. We don't have a consistency problem. We're either consistently hitting snooze, we're consistently playing a victim, we're consistently hiding from picking up that 400-pound phone. We're consistent at what we do, or we're consistently doing the work necessary to be successful. What the difference is your choices. You either choose to be lazy, you choose to be in victim mode, or you choose to be in growth mode and abundant, and you go out and you just do the hard. What choice are you making? You have a choice problem, not a consistency problem. And that's why when we look at our schedule and we break things down, we find the choices that you're making, what you're saying yes to and what you're saying no to. And if those no's are no's that are purpose there so that you can go to where your why is, you're doing the right thing. If your no's are the things keeping you from your why, we make a change. We be an adult and we fix it. So that's kind of the what we get to work on is really just about those simple things and helping people and getting in their corner and letting them hear back what they're saying. Being an advocate to actually hear what's in your head, what's going on, pull it out, get you to look at it differently so you have an awareness, and then get it there and transform your business.
That's definitely one of your skill sets. When we went through our sessions together, you had abundance of clarity for me in terms of getting the stuff out of my head and putting it together. You touched on schedule, and I,
Hmm.
and I think it's really critical. Other than reading more, taking more podcasts, the broker agents have to really come down to identifying a schedule that gets them to where they want to go. You started with the GPS. You need to
Hmm.
know that destination, right? And the schedule has to have some consistency with it. Talk to me a little bit, and as we wrap this up, in terms of what your top people do with their schedule. Is there some consistency with what they all tend to do, or what your top people do?
There is, there's items that we do personally, as each one is a little bit different, but we do some things that basically we know that 20% of our activities bring in 80% of our income. So we have to identify those 20% activities. And those 20% activities are usually things that light you up, things that are just part of the job, part of the things that you just really, really love doing. And just because it's lead generation or this, someone has their own form. What are those things? How are they showing up in your schedule? And what is it you're doing trying to achieve with those things? When you said it earlier about asking about podcasts and books and things, a mentor of mine, Chris Robinson, he talks about the fact that he's always pushing at me, going, "Man, you need to learn a little and do a little. Learn a little and do a little." And I think that's the biggest thing is, are you consuming to create or are you consuming to consume?
Yes, bingo.
And that's where you're like, so what are you doing with what you're learning and how's it showing up in your schedule? And that's what the biggest thing is we start working with people is really just making sure that we're learning a little We're doing the things that light them up. We're pushing them to do the things that they know they need to do and the items that would change everything. We're pushing them there to support them and to push them through that suck so that they can actually build the habit of doing it. And one of the things I love telling people is, I'm all about the Yoda saying, do, don't try, do or do not. There is no such thing as try. And I'll ask someone, I'll go like, hey, can you try to stand up? And what's funny is they always stand up. I'm like, no, no, you didn't listen to me. I said, try to stand up. And then they stand up. I'm like, no, 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 you got to listen to me. Try to stand up. I'm like, try is a thought. There's no action to it. If you're doing it, there's action to it. So we get them to kind of understand that. And the next thing is like, you know, when you get up to walk across the room, when was the last time you physically thought about each step, what to do? When was the last time you thought about your heart beating? You never have, but you
Right.
have. Your brain is controlling that. You just don't know it because it's a subconscious part. We're in our conscious mind too much, and that's why we're worn out. We need to get into programming our subconscious mind. Our results are because of our programming. And my job is to reprogram you and get
Great.
you to think less.
Great
And
way
that's
to
what we
close.
work through.
Great way to close, Mike. Certainly want to get you back on here again. Again, give us a website to
Yeah, go to coachescornerwithmike.com.
Coach's
Go
Corner
to
with Mike.com.
withmike.com.
Cool.
It's right here, Coach's Corner. You just go
Yep.
on there. You can get there, go to Facebook, just look Mike Secord, the Coach's Corner with Mike. You can find me on there. Same with Instagram, the exact same way at Coach's Corner with Mike. You can get in touch with me there, or you can just do it the old-fashioned way. Pick up the phone, hit 586-557-7319, and you'll get to my cell phone. Just leave me a message, text me. I would love to have a conversation with you. Direct
Perfect.
message me, do whatever you want to do. I'm all here about helping people out and seeing if I can make an impact on you.
Appreciate you, Mike. Take care.
Appreciate you, Frank.